Beard check, beard check. Not everybody has an immaculate braid that's looking as thick as I've ever seen on a braid. Everybody out there, whether you're watching live or in the future, little beard fluff on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah, yeah.
Mine was a very delicate roll of a fluff
yes,
to not
yes.
pull any braid.
Yes. You guys should be around Nick and I when we're in person together, whether it was in Massachusetts or whether it was in Florida. And it's like one of us alone, you like have to say something about the beards. But when we get together, it's just like people like malfunction and they're like, something's going on there. And we're like,
invasion.
Yeah. And it like gives them permission to talk about it because they're like, okay, this can't be just a coincidence. So if you guys were with us with getting the beard ready, we appreciate you. This is the Doctor's Orders live stream, episode 131 in a row on the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel. If you guys could, on your way in, just check to see if you remembered that thumbs up. Just a genuine just reminder in case you forgot. And if you want to share this out with some friends, I promise there's going to be topics that they can relate to, bearded or not. We just like to talk. We just like to have long-form transparency so you guys can get to know this company and especially the people behind it. And today we've got some updates. We've got some random wheels submitted by you guys. We got some travel stories. We got all sorts of stuff that's going to be going on today. And my name is Dan. I am the co-host of this beautiful show that I look forward to so much. Oh, by the way, Violet was just earlier was like using her imagination. She has this little like, oh my gosh, what's the show? PJ Mask, little kid show, PJ Mask watch. And she was acting like it was like the Apple Watch, because sometimes I'll do like voice memos and stuff on there. And she goes, hold up, Dad, hold up. Nick, are you there? Nick? Okay. And she had a full out discussion with Nick on her PJ Mask watch on her wrist. Of all the humans in her entire life, in the entire world, she had a conversation with Nick.
That means I should probably mute this thing because it might go off again while it's been going off all morning here. I've been wondering why the walkie-talkie app's been going nuts.
Violet, not during stream. Stream. And that person she was having a conversation with is the other co-host of this show, the man that brings it all, Mr., as Violet would say, Nick himself. Nick, how are you today?
That just made my day. No,
literally Nick. Like that was her go-to on the watch. I'm like, do I talk about Nick that much or talk to Nick that much? Jeez.
That is fantastic. I love it.
It was great. How you doing, buddy?
Dude, glad to be home. I'm so beyond sick of traveling at this point. It's hard to believe. I got two things. I almost need to like write them down here. One, the thing you said about beards in public. Let's come back to that in groups,
please, because
I have a bone to pick with that one. But
yes, please.
Man, traveling. It's hard to believe. Like back in 2017, I did 220 flight legs, and then in 2018, I did like 100 something.
Jeez.
And it's hard to believe now because I don't know. Okay. I don't know if my tolerance for traveling has just gone down, right? Which is entirely possible. Or it's just gotten worse. Like everything else has gotten worse post-pandemic. Like there's no such thing as a functioning airplane anymore. They're all broken. Just so you know, anyone who's going to go on an airplane, it's going to be broken. Okay. Spoiler alert. Like that.
I think we need to elaborate on this because you just in your last 2 flights had 2 situations. In our last couple flights, we've had situations, and I'll hit you guys with mine real quick. The first one is the last time Sam and I flew. Now, Sam is terrified of flying. This almost cured her. It was so bad. Let me say that again. Sam is terrified of flying, like number 1 fear. The experience was so bad, it almost cured her. So we flew into Miami from the Dominican Republic, and the international line for customs was, I'm not exaggerating, over 2 hours long. We were very worried about making our connecting flight. Well, while we were in line, there's a lady in front of us who was on her phone like this, and I could see over her shoulder. She happened to pull up a certain news spot that had breaking live stream from the Miami airport while we were in line at customs at the Miami airport about a plane that crashed on the runway and is in flames, and that half of the airport was shut down, while my wife is terrified and needed to fly from Miami to Detroit, Michigan. That happened. And then the next one, this one was recent when I was by myself. We get on the plane and they have us all get off. We're like, what the heck? And then as we're getting back on the plane, we notice all of our carry-ons are in what's the jetway? Is that what it's called? The walkway thing?
Yep. Yeah,
the jetway.
Yep.
All of our carry-ons are in the jetway. They were up top. We get back on and they say, we're sorry, anybody on this side of the flight, all of your carry-ons are now checked because we can't use that. And there was a guy up there, an actual tech guy who's in there doing stuff, and he literally at one point goes, that'll work, and closes it. And I'm about to get on this flight where they can't have the weight on one side of the plane, but it's okay on the other, and they had us clear off. I've not had a successful flight that's been start to finish without a problem. And Dude, you just had the similar situations.
Literally on both of them, both going down and coming up. Of course, the one down there, we fly down on Thursday, and it was just in case anyone missed last week or hasn't been following, there's, my dad passed away a couple of weeks ago. And we went down on Thursday for his services down in Florida. He was, cremated and buried in the Bay Pines National Memorial Cemetery down there in Florida, which is awesome.
Wow.
Great place, beautiful place.
I didn't know that.
And so we went down there on Thursday, and there was some events leading up to the services on Friday, of course, Thursday night. And so, and I mean, we got a nice middle of the day flight. So we were like, okay, cool. Nothing, no stressful, super early morning, but we land at 1. So we figured we had plenty of time to fart around for a little while, make our way down an hour south of the airport down to my dad's house. And so of course, 2.5, 3 hour delay getting out of the airport. We were supposed to land at 1. We didn't leave Logan until 12:30. And so, I mean, right out of the gate, going real strong. And it was basically on the way out, we pushed back from the gate and we sat there on the runway for a little bit. And the pilot was like, hey, you might hear some ruckus outside, some racket outside. He said, we have to jumpstart one of the engines, and that process can be a little noisy. So just it's an alternate way of starting the engine, no big deal. And I've had this happen 1,000 times. Basically, they bring out this cart that's got a jet on it, and they start up one jet, and it basically shoves air through the other one, and essentially ram jet starts the other jet. So it's super loud. But I've had it happen before. I've made it through that flight, so I was like, okay, no big deal. So they do that, and the thing's sitting there running. And first of all, it's the go figure, right? We pull a flashback a little bit here. Sorry. We get to the gate and we look out, and we're flying JetBlue because they're hubbed in Boston. So it's to get anywhere with JetBlue is pretty easy from Massachusetts. And now that they have Mint, you can kind of get somewhere in first class comfort if you're going cross country. If it's a short flight, there's plenty of them, right? I mean, it's nice because they're hubbed here. But we pull up, we walk up to the gate and we look out, and it's a bright red airplane. And I'm like, huh? And it's a firefighter memorial dedicated big red airplane from JetBlue. So it's this weirdly painted, decorated airplane. By the way, that has a ton of paint missing off of it.
Oh, geez.
So not looking great to begin with. And anyway, so we then get an announcement that says, hey, we have a computer on board that is frozen and it won't reboot. And unfortunately, it's a computer that's required to make it down to Florida. We need to pull that one. There you go. That's the plane we were on. And so we were, he's like, okay, so we got to pull back to the gate. We got to get a tech on board. So we pull back to the gate, and this tech comes on board, and he's up there messing around with these guys for, I don't even know, about 2 hours, right? And so once it hits the 2 hour mark, you have the option of leaving the airplane, but it gets right up to the 2 hour mark. And I'm not kidding you. The tech said the same thing that your tech did. He says, he's like, yeah, looks like it's good.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what I heard him. Hands on the hips, out of the cockpit. Looks like it's good.
Yeah. He said that'll do. And he closed one of the,
these guys really need to work on their bedside manner. If there's one bit of feedback for JetBlue, So anyway, the pilot doesn't do us any more service or any more justice. He jumps on the announcement and says, well, all that for nothing. The computer rebooted itself and looks like it came back up no problems. We're going to get out of here.
Didn't have to say that.
That was a little bit of extra information. You should have made it sound very difficult. Like highlight the hard work of your technician that said Tech Ops Crew in bright red letters on the back of his shirt. And, make sure it seems really difficult, very worth it. Sorry for the time, but I'm glad we took care of it. That kind of, none of that messaging crossed this pilot's mind. He actually used the words sorry and embarrassing in his final announcement before we pushed back from the gate, as if to drive home the point that he was also annoyed. And so what was the next? Oh God, I don't even remember the next part. It gets better at some point, but I'm forgetting where that was going. But anyway, that guy wraps up, and we're then, again, like 3 hours delayed getting down there. Oh, that's what it was. We get out to the runway and he's like, well, we were next in line, but unfortunately our flight plan expired now with the FAA. So we need to refile the flight plan. That usually takes about 5 to 15 minutes, depending on when they approve it. And then once they approve it, they just need to go ahead and file it for us. So we're just going to hang out here for another 20, 30 minutes, and then we'll be on our way. This is after, of course, we're finally like, yay, push back. Nope, 30 minutes more.
And you've been sitting for 2 hours on a plane seat.
Already, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So then begins the 3.5 hour flight, and then waiting for a gate because no one was expecting us because we were late,
Of course.
Right. Because there's that part, because they don't think,
that.
now we need a place for them to park. Yeah, that's going to be good. We need to do that part. But it all goes together to being, we made it down there.
Good.
And you know what? I'll pause for the return flight trip for just a moment. There's 2 points that we just have to, elephants in the room we have to talk about here. One was that last story that you just told about, like, there being a shutdown part of the airport.
Yeah.
Now, this is what this part of the story makes me think that I actually am just less tolerant of traveling, and it's always been this bad. And I'm noticing it more now because I'm not used to it. Like dark day, sunny day kind of situation.
Yeah.
I've had too many sunny days. So of not traveling. So go back to like 2014, right? I had a very similar situation to you. An employee of mine and I were flying out to San Francisco for an event from Boston. And for some reason, I landed on like a 7 a.m. flight leaving, and he was leaving at like 9, right? So he was leaving like 2 hours after me. And similar things go wrong, right? We have a series of events happen on this airplane that delays us leaving the airport. And I'm like, man, should have just taken the same flight as my buddy at this point.
So I got something to add on that. That's so crazy. Continue.
Right? So there I am. I'm sitting on the plane. The plane finally takes off. And so the plane takes off and it goes up, and you know how the steep ascent happens, right? And then you kind of keep going and then you level out. Well, during the steep ascent, all of a sudden it was like an abrupt level out, and then ramp down the engines. And all of a sudden it makes a sharp bank over to the right. And I'm like, what the hell is going on this flight? Like, clogged up airways, I'm thinking, or something, like congested airspace. They got a halt or something,
Right.
And the pilot comes on and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, you've probably noticed that we have made a sudden, ramp down in our ascent into airspace. He's like, unfortunately, we had a hydraulic failure of one component on the left wing. And unfortunately, our flaps are stuck in the wrong position. He's like, so we can't go over a certain speed. He's like, we're going to unfortunately need to return to Logan for maintenance. He's like, the only problem with that is we're loaded up with fuel to go to South America after San Francisco. So we have far too much fuel to land on the runway at this point. We're too heavy. He's like, so we're going to need to burn off some fuel. We're just going to do some laps up here above Logan and flaps down, burn off some fuel, and we'll get you back down and we'll get another airplane. So fast forward about an hour and a half of doing circles over Logan. We're low enough as we start going back toward the airport where my cell service kicks back on. And this is before iMessage was working over Wi-Fi. I think it was probably on an Android at this point or whatever even. So I finally see that I can get text messages through. So I text my buddy because I'm supposed to be getting there before him, getting a rental car, and then killing time and coming back and picking him up for this work event. So I'm texting him like, hey, man, you're probably taking off soon. I'm about to land back at Logan because there's a problem with our airplane. And his response to me, because it's early for him, he's not thinking. He says, well, good luck. They just shut down half the airport because of a crash landing coming in from JetBlue. He's like, there's fire trucks out on the runway with foam running out of their hoses right now at the end of the runway. I'm watching it all through the window. Wow. And I'm like, oh, that's my airplane. So I was the crash landing coming into Logan that had 18 fire trucks waiting at the end of the runway because they thought we were too heavy to land and we're going to explode when we hit the runway, break our landing gear. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, that's me. He's like, oh, dear God, it is a flight that was bound for San Francisco. Are you kidding me? He's like, I'm like, no, wish me luck.
Wow.
So yeah, I had that very, very similar incident, except
let me
we made it up and came back.
Oh, so so we were leaving the Dominican Republic, and I don't know if you've been in their little airport. It's like a food court, and then there's like four gates. And so we were there, and the gate right next to us was also going to Miami. So we sat down, at the little seats. We get to talking to this older couple, and they're leaving like, oh, we're going to Miami and then to Michigan. We're like, oh, no way, us too. And we're like, okay, yeah, we leave. And they leave about 15 minutes before us. And so we're like, oh, okay, cool. They leave 15 minutes after us. And so we're going first, kind of like you with your buddy. And then essentially we get to the airport. We're waiting in the customs line. I see the news. Here is the actual story, the exact date and everything. And you can even see on there, let me remove this banner thing at the bottom. You can see on there from the Dominican Republic.
Collapsed.
Yep, up in flames. This was the other flight that was the gate next to us from the Dominican Republic that left 15 minutes after us. The couple we talked to were elderly. They were on this flight. They had to full out use the like slides to get down. They're blasting it with hoses as they're going through and stuff. And we were talking to them moments before they got on this plane and for this to happen. Like we were talking
and that's when
to them.
Sam looks over at you after all those years of telling her she was irrationally scared of flying. And she was like, you see?
Yep. I have
and
nothing.
You're like, fine.
Right. When you're like, no, driving to the airport's more dangerous. This will never happen. Do you know the
never
odds of this?
Dude. Now you just sound like an ass.
Yeah, I lost.
Oh, you totally. Yeah, you got the I'm right eyes the whole way home in the car ride on that one.
And then hit them real quick with once you got there, your travel woes didn't even stop with your room.
Okay, I didn't even tell you the best one. I saved it. I saved it for the stream because I needed to see your face in real time when this one happened. All so right. I meant to send this to you sooner, and real quick, I was going to supply your Florida man story for last night.
Timothy's on a plane right now to his grandma's celebration of life. Same thing, man. In our thoughts, condolences, all of that, and catch up. Wish you, safe flight. Sincerely, safe flight,
dude. Good luck. Just I wish you as little inconvenience as possible.
Yes.
So I was gonna send this to you because I wanted this story to be your Florida woman Monday story on Command's Corner last night. It was worthy.
And this was one personally?
Oh yeah, this is our personal experience with Florida Woman. We'll have Florida Woman Tuesday here on Doctor's Orders. It's the first, the world premiere. And you guys are here for it.
Here we go.
So I don't know if you guys know the Tampa area at all, but like there's this big highway, I-275. Picture I-75. And there's one that's next to it, I-275. Oddly enough, exit 275 off of I-75 is what gets you on to 275 from 75. Let that sink in.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so 275, big highway, 4 lanes each side. It's an interstate, I-275. So we're on this interstate. We get over the bridge going from Tampa, from Hillsborough County to Pinellas County, and we're getting into like St. Pete. We're like 6 miles out of downtown St. Pete, probably just about to see the ripped off top from Tropicana Field, right? Looking right down. And all of a sudden, traffic starts coming to a screeching halt. And I'm like, oh boy. And it's not stopped like 8 car lengths ahead of me. It's stopping like 4 lengths ahead of me. I'm like, why is everyone slamming on their brakes? And I look over on the left, and there's this little silver Infiniti broken down on the side of the road on the left of the interstate. So I'm asking myself, why is everyone slamming on their brakes on the right and coming to a complete like stopped line of traffic for this car that's broken down over on the left? Well, he chose phone a friend when he broke down on the left side of the interstate, and said friend came to his rescue in the form of a very large woman in flip-flops with a single gallon of gas in her hand, who parked on the right side of the interstate to come help her friend, who's if you remember from a moment ago, on the left side of the interstate. So in flip-flops, she excuse me, excuse me, runs across the interstate at 5 o'clock, stopping all interstate traffic to bring her stranded friend a single gallon of gas.
Wow. And you witnessed all this.
Right in front of us. I just looked over. I was like, you can't plan. I'm like, welcome to Pinellas County. Like, welcome to Florida. More specifically, welcome to Pinellas County.
I can, sorry, guys. Sorry, gas. Sorry, I can see it.
Sorry, excuse me. Excuse me, sorry. It was.
So that's how it started.
That's how it started. Oh, then we go, we have the services over at my dad's house, and the celebration of life kind of thing, dinner, all this stuff, and hang out, get to see the family and everything. It was great. And then we get to the hotel. It's late. We're very tired. It's 9:30. And so we get down to our hotel. Now this hotel, as you know, I'm weird. I don't like normal hotels. If I can make an adventure out of something, I'm gonna. So I like Airbnbs. I like cool condos. I like getting places that have other stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I found a really cool 2-bedroom apartment that was part of a timeshare place that was attached to a water park. So that way Jack can go and hang out at the water park while we're getting ready, like maybe bring the vibe up a little bit. Down there for something sad, make it fun.
Amen.
So, it's not a 24-hour front desk, come to find out, because it's a timeshare place. So they're like an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. sort of operation at the front desk.
Okay.
And so we just make it before they close, and it was about to turn into a whole other type of cluster. And so we get our keys, we park. Oh, there's no parking spots in the garage. You got to park across the street, bring your bags down this little road here. Okay, no, that's fine. We'll do that. So we do that. We drag the bags down the dirt road, up the elevator into the parking garage, where we have a reserved spot, I might add. That you pay for. And we get up to the room, and it's like 90 degrees in the room and humid. And I'm like, okay, this is good. So I'm like, someone, you know what? It's not a big deal. Cleaning staff probably came in yesterday, probably vacant today. They forgot to kick on the thermostat.
Yep.
Happens. Go over, kick on the thermostat. Oh, thermostat's already on. Oh, set it to cool. That's already set to cool. All right. Look for another thermostat. Find it. Oh, it's already set to 66 also. All right. No cool air. The thing, it definitely has not been on all day. So I go down, run down to the front desk. The lady's walking out, locking up with her lunch bag in her hand, and some guy with her. And sends the guy back up to the room with me. He's like, oh, man, we just had an AC guy out there today to work on this room. I'm surprised it's not working. I'm like, oh, well, he did a terrible job, because it is not working.
That makes two of us surprised. Yes.
So he gets up there with us now we're about 45 minutes into the check in the room process. It's about 10 something. And he gets the AC to kick on. And then after he walks out of the room, a bearing breaks in the air handler in the fan in like the bathroom, ceiling somewhere. And there's a vent that leads into the master bedroom, the air intake, right? And you can hear this screaming bearing of this fan going down. It sounds like a fire alarm going off in the distance, but it's not. It's just in the room, in the air duct. So we turn on the TV, try to drown it out. So our only solution was to cool off the room until about 11:30 midnight, and then turn off the AC.
Wow, it was that bad?
Oh, yeah. We had to basically hang out in the living room with the door closed in the bedroom, let it cool off, open the door, turn off the AC, and go to bed before it got hot. Basically,
you just wanted to sleep. You'd been traveling all day.
Dude, that was it. And so next day, AC is not going to get fixed. When you get back from the services, pack up all your stuff again, and we can change rooms for you. So we go do the services, come back. Let's relax. No, let's not relax. Let's repack everything from getting ready for a funeral, and then move rooms down the hallway. And then you know what we'll do? We'll send Jack down to the water park, and we'll be able to relax. He can go have some slides. We'll hang out. Send Jack down. Oh, sorry. Parent needs to be with him down there the whole time. You can't even just send him in, even though it's attached to the hotel and we can see him from our balcony. You got to be down there with him. So, okay. It was like It was like one, I don't even know. Like, I don't know if I ran over like a gypsy on the way to the airport, and this was like the beginning of my series of bad luck or something that happened. But man, it was literally one thing after another, and it didn't stop the whole way home.
Jeez.
It was nuts. And we got home, we're like, okay, we're gonna get home and we're just gonna like stay there. We're gonna like not go anywhere for at least 30 days. We're just like home.
Yes. Yeah, yes. And then last travel adventure question. We touched on the adventures last week, but Max lives in this area, and he wants to know what part of VT you were skiing.
That would be Vermont. And we were in Killington, Vermont. And it's like, I love Killington too, because you don't have to go to Canada to enjoy that part of Vermont.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, because like the other place we were gonna go, like Jay Peak, it's like what? It's like 15 minutes from the border. It's
Gotcha.
like basically going to Montreal to go skiing.
Dang near Canada. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. Like you're gonna see Mounties.
Yeah, absolutely. Leo says, thank you for confirming my preference for hotels over Airbnbs.
So you know what? There's something to be said for that. And so it's like 1 out of 20, I would say, is you end up telling yourself like, okay, a hotel might have been easier, because once in a while it just ends up being too much of the, too much coordination, and something goes sideways and then things don't work out. But I gotta say, like, 19 of those 20 times I'm like, haha, I win. This is why I do Airbnbs and not hotels, because this is awesome. So it's like it's not scaring me away. I'll still do it. But I will say that Florida has gotten tricky. Like, the things you see in the photos for hotels in Florida is a drastically dressed up version of what you're getting. Like,
it's so competitive there. They have to edge it in any way they can. That's
what I mean.
We've had the same experiences in Florida as compared to like Columbus or Michigan. And I agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of bait and switch in Florida. Yep. And and it's like, and you feel it right away. Like, you get there and you're like, okay, plastic cups, laminated menus, everything is here just because we're here, right? It's like, none of that would be there if it wasn't the travel industry supporting it in some ways, right? And it's
right.
I don't like that feeling in general, right? Like, I don't like feeling like I'm traveling in an amusement park that's set up for traveling, right?
Agreed.
I like to go travel places and enjoy places for what they are.
Yes.
And so, like, that's why I don't like going to like the Senior Frogs and staying at like the resort that's all inclusive in Ocho Rios, right? I'll stay in like a beach bungalow that's managed by like a guy and his wife, and then I'm gonna go eat dinner at a local restaurant, right? Like,
that's very you.
That's my speed. I don't like feeling like I'm in a let's take care of the pretty white tourists and their stuff, and I don't like feeling like there's like that. That's weird. Like, that feels like Hunger Games-ish to me. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels bleh.
I don't like the cultural shows. When you get to a place and they're displaying their traditions and their cultures, it just feels so wrong and just feels so forced. And if they're happy doing it and they enjoy it, heck yeah, more power. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
And you know what it is? You know what it is, man, is that I spent too long, I think, living in areas that were travel industry areas and being friends with a lot of the people that work in the travel industry. So, like,
the sausage was made.
Yeah, I looked way too deep in the sausage factory. It's like, you can only go hang out in a parking lot behind a hotel and like drink a beer or something with some buddies and have them be telling stories about, like, they're like, oh, did you see the blah, 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 like family from, wherever. And they're like, talking, they're like, oh God, these people, and you're like, oh dear God, this is what happens every time I sit in one of those places. Is I become part of this conversation at 10:30 at night when these people get off work. I'm like, I don't like this at all.
And you've seen it. Yep. And Dennis says Killington in the summer is awesome too. His trip is booked and you have an invite.
Dude, I think that this summer might be a so much better summer for that than it was last summer too. 2024 summer was absolutely madness, and we are decidedly making it less crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Christopher says, just got back from New Mexico snowboarding. New Mexico snowboarding.
Oh, hell yeah. High desert skiing is awesome. It's nice out there. Like, anything north of like, like even like in like Sedona, Arizona, it's like they have skiing up there.
Interesting. Yeah, I did know. Yeah, okay. Okay.
High
Yeah.
desert gets pretty damn. You know what's funny is my buddy just moved to Reno, and he's like busy trying to talk us into moving out to Reno. He's like, come on, come out and hang out. And I'm like looking, I'm like, it would be nice to get away from the cold. I looked at his weather yesterday, high of 41. I'm like, yeah, no, that's cold. No,
Yeah.
if I'm not moving from cold to cold.
Jill says, when you spill a bunch of melted beeswax all over the production floor, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Oh no, oh no.
Yikes. Yikes. And
Uh-oh.
And Nate
Glad
says
Sarah's
the
not here
benefits of
today.
the best Airbnbs outweigh the best hotel, and they have had bad hotel. To be fair, I have had really bad hotel experiences as well. Like same
Same.
things. I've had AC go out. I've had to change rooms. I've had the
Oh yeah.
musky, moldy, mildewy type smell and feel
Mhm.
and stuff. So that's definitely fair to think about all sides there.
Dude, yeah, there's like when I was down in Georgia like last year and had to do that big travel around where I flew to like Tennessee and then went to Georgia and then bounced from there to North Carolina and came back home. It was, that was the hotel craziness there was worse than any Airbnb. I ended up
Yeah.
winning and getting like a presidential suite out of it at Marriott, which was pretty cool. But they were
Wow.
basically telling me to go like sleep in my car for the first night
Yeah.
I was there.
We've had some rough standoffs with hotels where you're like, well, it's a hotel. They'll do whatever. And it's like gets to the point where they're just like, no, you lose. We've had some bad ones. So yeah. Yep. I know what you're talking about.
Oh
And,
yeah.
Meg says, Killington is a beautiful resort. I run the Spartan obstacle course race on Bear Mountain.
Oh, cool. That's super cool. I saw that when they first started doing that. That was years and years ago. I saw a thing for that back in like I want to say like 2016 or so time frame. I almost went up there and did one of them. It looked awesome.
Super cool. Super cool. And then your other topic, then guys, we will hit the random wheel. But beards in public, what sparked this thought for you?
Well, so you said something about like whenever you and I are out in public
Yeah.
together, how people's brains kind of break. And there's another little piece of decorum, I think, that breaks along with the thought process of what's happening. Is there some sort of an invasion? Is it something weird happens? It takes people that would normally maybe not even say something about your
Yes.
beard, and it takes them to a place. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but they feel the need to not only say something about the beards, they feel the need to compare them.
Yes.
They all of a sudden feel the need to say something about, well, this one versus that one, I'd blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, okay, like what all of a sudden, takes people from seeing one beard and being like, wow, that's a beard, to seeing two and being like, well, I better let them know how they stack up against each other.
Yeah, no,
Like,
they really, that's a great point. They really, really do. They'll say things like, well, yeah, his beard is much bigger than yours, or I prefer the presentation of his beard and stuff.
or,
And it's like,
I don't like red beards. I'm glad
Yeah.
yours is brown.
right. And this actually happens, you guys. We actually have these things happen. And you're right. It's like people and their personality that would never, ever, ever want to say that until we get together. And I rarely ever have anybody ask to touch my beard or touch my beard. But when you and I are together,
Every damn time.
and there's any amount of women together, meaning two or more women, it is, you guys, when Nick and I are together, it is 100% when it's multiple women together, they ask if they can touch or they just come up and touch the beard. Every single time.
The older the women get, the more apt they are to just touch it without asking too.
And some of them are over the top aggressive and
Usually
pointed.
really drunk.
Yeah. Pointed, and there is a little bit more of an angle than just touching the beard, and they share their thoughts. And yeah, and
They do.
there are adult beverages, and we had a couple of groups. We were walking down Daytona Beach, just like the roads. We had some groups in you would be flabbergasted. Like, we need to that would be a good video, actually, if
Dude,
I put on my filming glasses.
I could
like
Me
that.
Too the hell out of all those women.
Yeah.
It's like if you put any one thing that some of these women yelled at us in Daytona and we yelled it at any one individual girl in Daytona, like we would have probably had to like go back for court hearings.
Yes. Yep. 100%. And they tug it. Normally they'll be like, can I feel it? And they'll kind of just go in like this. But some will, like, they're trying to check if it's like the Santa Claus real beard or what. And they'll give it a tug. But I genuinely don't get that on a solo basis when I'm by myself or if I'm with somebody that doesn't have a beard. But you add 2 substantial beards, it's like, woo, free game. Let's do this.
Dude,
So,
I'm looking at what Nate's saying here. It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I had to physically steer one away at a concert. Yeah, especially if alcohol's involved, it's crazy. Hannah's right next to her. They don't care. They
no.
They get courage in numbers, and it's weird. It's really weird.
You know what it is too, and like I like having Jill with me when it happens though, because Jill has this. I don't even know what the look is that she does, but she's got like this look that like they'll do it once. They look over at Jill, and you see this look of blank remorse on their face, and they're like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna okay," and I'm
Jill
like,
has that.
yes.
Yeah,
like Jill has like that I'm gonna kill you face when it happens, I think.
Yeah.
And they can see it.
It's the no touchy look.
It's the no touchy look. Yeah.
And if you guys know Sam, she has that same look very strongly.
Yeah. No touchy.
Yes. And Steven's so right. He said after declining to let them finger your beard, they get all offended. They 100% of the time get, excuse me.
Sorry.
I didn't know it was that serious.
I almost expect him to jump back and say, ow. Like when you say no, like it's like, oh, no, boy.
Yeah. Yep. Leo was in line, and where a few feet ahead of him was a woman fondling her man's beard all the time. Interesting.
Just spinning his beard instead of her hair. Well, to be fair, I mean, he's whether that's kind of half her beard at that point. She wants to spin it around her finger. I mean, that's what she's going to do.
Oh, so interesting. So interesting. There's some psychology behind that.
Dude, there really is. There is. So just to tie things all together in a nice bow before we jump over to some random tangent relief here is on the way back, you can't make this stuff up. This is what, so Jill throws on, she's like, you know what? I'm bringing a sleep mask. She's like, I'm going to throw on some guided meditation. I'm going to have a nice nap and everything's going to be great. And she puts on her sleep mask. She puts on her headphones, noise canceling on, and her AirPod Maxes, and she's getting ready. She's and all of a sudden, this is what I look over and see in the cockpit on our way back is the guy with a flashlight looking up. And then, so this is the best part about this guy. This guy had way less filter. He was in Florida. He was in Tampa. So this guy had like a Tampa filter for his words. And literally at one point, I hear him go, I don't effing know. And I hear click, 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 and then the whole plane, like he's like just circuit flipping this airplane as if he's downstairs, and I'm like, Dan, that kitchen light go off yet? And he's like, I don't know,
blow on it.
And it's off and on, and then so it was. He's like, and then gets to the end, and he's like, well, it looks like that one got it. And then the pilot, I know, no joke, looks at this guy and says, do we need to document which one it was? He goes, nah, this one's going in for maintenance soon anyway.
Wow.
Nah.
And Nick told me this story already.
In real time. I'm sitting there texting Dan as it's like happening on the airplane. I'm like, you can't make this up.
And your mom's right. It is very similar with the ladies touching beards to people just automatically touching pregnant bellies.
Oh, yeah.
That's
and
true.
Tattooed skin. People like seeing that maybe it's like a scratch and sniff tattoo or something. Like they want to see if it comes off. They're like, oh my God, your tattoos are so nice. It's like, cool. It's like, hey, nice face. Like, I like your face. I like your face. Let me just touch it.
Yeah. Oh man. And we are gonna hit the wheel, you guys. We do have some news first here. Nick, small update for our friends about next week. If you want to hit them with the news.
Yeah, so for reasons that we will cover on the stream, we will preview nothing serious, oddly enough, and not what you'd expect. Cracker Nasty, unfortunately, had to go in for some unexpected a surgical procedure that he will, I'm sure, tell us all about. But it resulted in him having a lot of stitches on his eyelids that happened to come out next Tuesday, oddly enough. So he's like, I think I'll still be good. The stitches come out Tuesday morning, to which I said, my luck isn't that great, and I'd hate for my luck to impact any of your recovery. So I think what we should probably do is push this off till the 18th, give you a week to get those stitches out and feeling a little more like yourself. So obviously, yeah, he was willing to partake, but I wanted to take the pressure off him a little bit. So we did make the decision to push our Cracker Nasty stream from next week, the 11th, to the following week on the 18th. So
yeah, we think
calendars accordingly.
Nick just reached out, was like, hey, are you good for the stream? He sends back a picture with his eyelids completely stitched up here, the hoods right up here stitched, and then they're coming out Tuesday. We were like, I don't think staring at a camera for over an hour is going to be a good thing when you have had your eyes kind of stitched closed for a week, and then you're going to remove those stitches. So we're playing it safe, you guys. It'll be 1 week from Tuesday, essentially 2 weeks from today. Cracker Nasty is where this is going.
And, I will point out that when he told me about the procedure that he'll tell us about, I told him that I was thoroughly disappointed in the reasons as to why he had stitches over both of his eyelids, and that I was expecting a much more enthralling story. But at the same time, wished him a speedy recovery. So
Jill thought you were going somewhere else with this stitches story. So we'll keep you guys posted. And yeah, as JB says, it just means we get another story. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, JB. We just get means we get a freshie. We get one straight off the presses from Cracker Nasty.
All right, guys, for our last 15 minutes or so, we have the random wheel. We have one carryover. Other than that, the rest of these are submitted by you guys on the Dr. Nick's Instagram page. So we're going to see, and some of you are in here right now that submitted. You ready to run it, Nick?
I'm super ready.
Here we go. Good luck, Mr. Wheel. Let's see what we're going and throwing down first. Okay, what is this one?
Common social norms.
Oh, okay. So a common. And please in the chat, feel free to drop in the
throw
chat
them out
here.
there.
What is and we're talking common.
I got
so
one.
For example, an obvious one would be handshakes, right? There's a lot of people that don't like shaking hands. That's a common social norm. Just as an example there. Nick, do you have one off the top?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have about 20 right off the top.
I feel like that, yeah.
I'm one of those people that just doesn't like sticking to social norms because it's like the thing.
You don't like to conform, yeah.
Well, and the problem is I overanalyze everything. And if something just doesn't make sense to me and I feel stupid doing it, then I have a problem doing it. And then I start overanalyzing it when other people do it. I'll throw one out that just gets me right from the beginning, and I don't quite know what to do about it. This is something I'm wrestling with, like currently at 41 years old.
Yeah.
When someone sneezes, you're supposed to say, bless you. Thank you, JB. So one, it seems played out. And two, I'm not a religious person, right? So what business do I have saying bless you? That's about as good of a blessing as from a fire hydrant if you walked by it, right? I mean, what's that going to get you? What's that going to get me? So,
right.
So now, but it's although it's
awkward if you don't.
You. Right. So bless you. Where does that come from? People thought way back in the day, there's another one on there, ancient something about conspiracies or something, right? They thought that when you sneezed, your soul was escaping your body, right?
Yeah,
so people said,
stuff.
bless you. Right. So fast forward now, it's rude if you don't acknowledge this bodily function whenever it so happens to somebody, which involuntarily, by the way.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, okay, how can I have the best of both worlds? One was a gesundheit. Thanks, Nate. It was a gesundheit. And then for me, I'm like, well, started feeling stupid doing that too. So what I started doing, and I've been enjoying this one a lot, is I just say you sneezed.
Do you? You just acknowledge it.
Yep. If someone sneezes, I'm just like, you sneezed. Yeah. That's it. But they get a you sneezed. I acknowledged it. I acknowledge that you sneeze. I acknowledge your involuntary body function because the world says I need to.
That's a good one. Sam and I do not say bless you to each other, but I am such a people person and such like a person that like I like making people feel good. I like feel obligated to say it when out and about. And
you do, don't you?
What's that?
I said you feel obligated,
You
right?
do. Well, and even
Oh, of
if you
course.
do it, like if you're, let's say you're in an elevator and you sneeze into your arm, you're not sneezing on people, and it's just silent in there, and there's 3 other people, and it's so awkward. It's incredibly awkward.
Dude, it is. It is so like there's like the so Jill's sneezes come. Some people's sneezes come in twos, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, my wife's so cute. Her sneezes always come in twos," and like all these things you remember about, and the things you write down in like the little Valentine's book. Jill's sneezes come in very violent sets of 16s, or some. I think okay, fine, I exaggerate. I think her record's actually like 14. But they're like our neighbors flinch, like guaranteed. Like the reason they haven't replaced their smoke detector battery in their garage that faces our backyard for the past 6 years that beeps every summer, all summer, is because of Jill's sneezes. That's the little bit of revenge they can exact against us for the disruptions that we cause them. I think is the only likely deduction from that. But yeah, bless you, sneezes, hate it, drives me crazy. Which ones get you?
So, but I like Leo's point here. He said Gesundheit has good health, which I think
Good.
has some,
I like that.
because if you are sneezing, there's a chance that you have a cold or you have a cold coming, right?
Sure.
It can be just an irritation, but maybe you have allergies. That makes sense where it's like, oh, there might be something bad going on with you. Let me wish you good health. I'm okay with that one.
I don't hate that either, which is why I think it's a great alternative.
Yeah. Okay. Mine, and no one take this the wrong way, because I have people in here that I've experienced this with, and I don't mind.
Uh-oh.
I am in it. I'll explain thoroughly. I am not a phone call guy. I have a crazy life. I have a loud life. I have a hyper efficient life, and a phone call has to stop everything in my life.
Yes.
I am not a guy that can have conversations around my kids, around a loud room. If someone calls, I have to leave what I'm doing and go to a quiet space. My brain cannot handle background noise and people talking and stuff.
I don't like talking in front of rooms full of people. So therefore your call will cause me to exit that room that I am in.
100%. A restaurant, I'm stepping out. And it's just, now there are times where it's not avoidable. And I'm not talking about like, hey, Nick, you and I want to have a call to talk about this topic. Let's 30 minutes work. Cool. That's planned. That's good. But it's when somebody just out of the blue calls me, and then it's like, that easily could have been a text message. You want to know why? Because I can read. And I get that people have preferences and that I'm not preaching or saying anybody's wrong, but I dislike random phone calls a lot. I even more so strongly hate random knocks on the doors. Do not solicit me. It's 2025. I will find your business if I need to.
Don't not knock on my door.
Don't come talk to me. I hate dropping everything in my life when I don't know it's coming, when I'm not expected. And I get times used to be different. I entirely get that. I just don't like it. I really don't like it.
Oh yeah. I think it's funny too, because like I was talking about social norms, like I think the new social norm has become like, unless someone's expecting a call from you, you typically start with a text. Hey, got a minute? Hey, this, hey, that. Nope. Hey, 15 minutes from now will work a lot better. Cool. Yep. Like the blind call thing, like I get it. Some people, have time and listen. This isn't one. I will just take what you said and carbon copy it. 100% agree, for the exact same reasons. Like chances are throughout the day, like at any given moment, I'm having like an active discussion about something with 8 different people on my phone.
Yes.
And if someone calls me, to me, that's them being like I don't know what it is, but I wish I had the type of schedule that would afford me to literally be like, oh, hey, what's up? And like sit back in my chair. I personally don't know what would happen to my brain if I lived in a world that let me do that. But I do kind of wish sometimes I had like a much less hectic life where I could do that kind of stuff.
I agree, Christopher, word for word. He said, to the point where unplanned calls give me anxiety, and I'm not an anxious person. I've never even thought about it through that lens, but I just got goosebumps because you're so true. You are so right, where if I get an unplanned call, I don't know what it's about. I don't know why you're calling me. It's so uncommon.
Is there something wrong? Is someone dead?
Yes. Yes, Christopher, that just rocked my core. Yes. And like Ryan says, the no soliciting signs on the front door. So I just tried to order one off Amazon. Sam didn't like the style of it. So she is getting another one. We had contractors come to our house 3 times in the last week.
Oh
Not
yeah,
a marked
working on your
vehicle.
neighbor's house.
Yep.
Figured we'd stop by.
Not a marked vehicle. No signal, no logo on their hat, nothing on their Carhartt, nothing professional whatsoever.
Who are you?
3 times. And my view on it, and people would say, why don't you just answer the door? Why don't you talk? This is my house. I don't want to. Like, I don't need to. Like, it drives me crazy, and it's just normal. It's just okay.
You know what I started doing on my phone? And this, it literally, because look at this. I'll show you guys something here. All right. So if I don't have this setting on, these are the calls so far since last night when I turned this setting off because I needed to take a call from a number I didn't know. This is how many spam calls that I've gotten rejected since just 8 o'clock last night.
Jeez.
So if I look yesterday, 24 unknown calls called my phone, and that's just having your name associated with too many things out there in the world. And if people want to give you business loans, they want business line of credit, need someone for your cybersecurity service. That's always my favorite. So what I did was I finally did this damn setting, and it has made my life so much easier. We'll see here. Can you see it?
Yeah, this is what Nate's talking about. He goes, wait, you don't leave your phone on silent, also silence unknown callers?
Dude, so now that the iPhone's so damn good at reading you people's voicemails in real time when they're leaving them, all this thing does is if the number's not saved in your phone and I haven't texted you back and forth, it doesn't ring, it doesn't show up, it doesn't do anything. It just goes straight to voicemail and it pops down in the island and it says, someone's leaving a voicemail, and you click on it and you can see what they're saying. And if you want to answer it, you click answer and you screen it, and you pick it up while they're doing it. And hopefully the No Doubt song, I screen my phone calls, walking into spiderwebs, just popped in your head as you were talking about that, because that's absolutely what popped into mine. And it's made my life much more peaceful.
And I'm okay with admitting I did not know that setting. So thank you. And thank you, Nate. I will be implementing that.
You need to do it. Go to the settings, search for phone, click on that bad boy, scroll down to silence unknown phone calls.
I will, because I hate unknown phone calls.
Oh my God, so bad.
Okay. And the voicemail reading has gotten very good. It's
gotten really good. I like that you can pick it up while they're leaving the voicemail now too, just like the old school, like listening to your answering machine in the 90s.
Okay. I feel heard. That was therapeutic for me. Thank you guys. That was that was beautiful.
Thank you for letting me exercise that demon.
All right, let's walk through it real quick, just in case anybody else needs to or wants to hear. We have phone.
Yeah. You go to settings and you go to phone.
Okay.
And then you go down to the bottom section there in your phone settings under calls, and it says silence unknown callers.
Okay. All right. Silence unknown. Yes.
Yeah.
Done. Done.
Yeah.
Love it. My life has gotten better. Thank you.
Get it. Get it. And I promise you, the one phone call a month that you miss because that's on, you will give zero craps that you missed it, and you will call that person back and you'll say sorry and you'll save their number.
Yes. And they can get a hold of me if they need to. Yep.
Sure can, because they can text you.
Yep. All right. See if we can get at least one more in here. That was a good one. You guys are the best.
Winner. Oh,
yeah. Okay. We get to knock this one off the list here. That was the big one. We're definitely not getting another one after this, but
ancient conspiracy theories.
Yeah. So they put in, and I love, this is a somewhat fringe fascination of mine, but ancient conspiracy theories. And oftentimes the entries are longer than what I can put like on the wheel. And they essentially are like, are there any ancient, we're not talking norm, we're not getting political, none of that stuff, ancient conspiracy theories that you either entertain or full out believe are real? And I'll start with mine because this is something that heavily conflicts me. Heavily conflicts me. I actually agree with Nate entirely. I taught ancient world history. I taught Mesopotamia. I taught the Paleolithic, Neolithic age. I've taught hunters and gatherers becoming people that lived in one location. And I
You have a unique
now
perspective on this one.
I now do not know if Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent, was the first civilization. I have a strong inkling that we had a more technologically advanced society before all of this, but it was in a way that we can't understand.
Like biological technology kind of
Like
thing, or like some of like crystals and rocks and stuff, or
using
like,
vibrations of the
yeah,
earth, using
yep.
thermodynamics, using
Like an
things that
Atlantis kind of a society, almost sort of a thing. Yeah.
100% the
Okay.
real uses of the pyramids. And
Right.
again, guys, this I fully acknowledge this is a conspiracy theory. I fully acknowledge people will say, oh, tinfoil hats and stuff. I just find it fun. Do I know
Yeah.
this? No. But do I want to believe it? Yes, extremely want to believe this. And I do think that there's a lot of the Younger Dryas impact theory. I do believe that we have this spot in Alaska where they found 30, 40,000 years ago stuff that shouldn't be there, and a huge band of carbon that would have explained a huge impact that could have wiped out civilizations. And if you're going back 40,000 years, what would be left in a highly civilized? Our computers aren't going to be,
Right.
our house isn't going to be. And when you start to do the LiDAR technology in the Amazon, and we're seeing civilizations that are entirely underground, I don't know if what I taught is accurate. And that
No.
kind of haunts me.
Well, and it's what really gets me is, one, the concept that a lot of people for a long time, probably over time, thought they were teaching history, and later on found out that they were really teaching limited theory.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's, you almost turn it turns the what's a historian versus what's a theologist discussion into a very interesting topic, because we only have the perspective that we have to be able to call certain things facts and certain things theory.
Yes.
So if that's the case, then you really can't call something fact or theory, because in that regard, right? Because we only have the limited perspective. We only have the lens that we're looking through. And it's so perception based, right? I mean, it's very much based on what on perception. It's like,
Yes.
and
If
and
it's
we're
more
learning things.
advanced, how
Yeah,
would
and
we
we're
know?
learning things all the time that are disproving things that we thought were true.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and now that they've like even little parts, you know, turn like an interest. So there's like ancient conspiracies, right? Like things that used to happen. But then there's modern conspiracies about ancient times as well, right? So there's like there's like kind of both sides of it. Like there's like conspiracies that existed in ancient people, right?
Yep.
I think that's one part of this topic. And then there's ones that weird conspiracies we have about them, not given all their information. And it's like, you look at like the stuff they talked about, and they proved, like, for example, like the Baghdad battery in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Like being able to have stores of energy and indoor light mechanisms that ran off of stored energy that weren't based on fire. And they have, you know, petroglyphs of this stuff being used.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, well, that kind of changes some stuff that we thought, right? It's just keeps coming.
Yeah, Göbekli Tepe, which is older than the civilizations that we thought existed, and is like kind of non-negotiable. There's so much to it, and I don't know enough about any of it, but it's so interesting to me.
Well,
So
what's interesting, you made an interesting point. Like, what would be left of a modern civilization, right? And then we find all these artifacts of it, right? I've always thought it was funny. Like, you look back at like all this Egypt, you know, artifacts, and they find like essentially foundations of what used to be a building,
Yeah.
right? Like, take my house, right? It's got silicon upstairs and computers.
Yep.
It's got all kinds of cameras. It's got
Gone.
sensors and radios and all this stuff, right? Wipe away the wood, wipe away everything that rots, and give it 1,000 years, and you got my concrete foundation.
Yes.
So like if in 20,000 years they found it, they'd be like, look at this concrete foundation. It must have been concrete walls, and they had stone tools. And it's like, no, that was the foundation of a super advanced house that's no longer there because it got wiped away with weather and nature.
100%.
It's just so weird.
Like I literally taught about the pyramids. I taught about them. And then now we look back at it, and there's so many rooms and so many aspects that we're like, we have no idea. And I used to tell my students, I said, when we study history or prehistory, because most people kind of mess that up, history is written. So anything before written is prehistory. When we study prehistory, we're just detectives picking up clues.
Yep.
Every single historical breakdown is just, here's a clue, this is what we think happened, but we project it as if this did happen.
Right.
And so it's so interesting to think about. We're just putting clues together, and guess what? Clues oftentimes are wrong, misleading, and yeah, it's so interesting to me. And I think we're at a time right now where it's starting to become more known because of our technology, because of certain breakthroughs. And hey, 5-10 years from now, I think we'll have a totally different story.
Oh yeah, I mean it's going to keep changing, you know, because technology is advancing way past what we thought. Like Moore's law would let technology advance.
Yep.
You know,
AI is
so
going to
it's
be able
just
to run through information in ways that you can't even process. Yeah, it's interesting. I could go on, I could do a whole show on ancient conspiracy theories.
That'd be a really good one.
Yeah, that would be a great one. We'll dock that one. All right, guys. Unfortunately, we are over unbelievably already, which is so crazy. But yeah, Violet needs to get her call into Nick, so we'll get that.
That's right.
So we will be back next week. Just a reminder: 2 weeks from today, Cracker Nasty, because of a surgery. The most Cracker Nasty way to delay a stream is because of surgery on his eyelids.
Yep, that sounds it's like right on brand.
Yeah. Entirely.
Except I was picturing like, well, I was wearing a pair of pit vipers and there was a pipe bomb that exploded in the belly of a seal that we extracted from the Nordic. No, it was my eye ducts were sore.
So we'll be back, you guys. Nick, final words for everybody out there, and thank you guys for watching, by the way.
Oh man, that's it. I'm glad to be home. Thanks for all the well wishes while we were traveling and for all the events that we were down there for. Much appreciated. Everyone sending their love and support. It was much appreciated. So, but no, we're glad to be home. And apparently, I got to go. I guess probably help scrape up a bunch of beeswax off of the shop floor downstairs. So, more on that next week.
All right, bye guys. See you next.